Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I am filming my March wrap up. In March I only read 14 books, which is bad. Granted, a lot of books, but bad because my goal for 2020, which I feel like I say in every single video, is 300 books, which means I need to read at least 25 every single month. Still haven't done that, so I'm very much behind. In March I also had like a huge reading slump. I read every day. Some days I did not read a lot. One day I think I read like 8 pages. So I was basically in a reading slump for like the whole month, which a reading slump does kind of tend to ruin your reading mood and the goals you have, so that sucked. I even had time to read, I just kind of procrastinated and stared in the wall instead. I managed 14 books and now I'm very much behind on my Goodreads goal, also my page goals for every day. I'm behind on everything. I didn't have a concrete TBR for March except for my Got a Thing for Spring reading challenge, so that has maybe something to do with it. In April I set myself a better concrete TBR, so I hope that will help. I will be talking about 10 books in this video, not for all 14 of them. So let's get started and talk about these books. First of all, for Got a Thing for Spring I read 4 books. I have a Got a Thing for Spring reading challenge where I read 4 books each month, 1 to each challenge, and at least I managed to do that this month, so that is good that I didn't fail my own challenge. I usually have an own Got a Thing for whatever season we are in the end of each season, so that wrap up will be up later. I don't know if that's a good way to do it, if you wrap up for some books like 2-3 months after I read them, but that's how I used to do it before, so I'm just going with it now. Going to mention the 4 books I read for the challenge for March in this video though. First of all, we had House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This one I actually binge read in like 2 days, so thank you my reading challenge for saving me from my reading slump for at least a few days. Thoughts later. I feel like this is kind of weird, but who cares? Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. This one I read in one sitting as well, so again thank you reading challenge. Great. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This one magnified my reading challenge 500%. I used like a week on this I think because I just didn't want to pick it up. That's all I gotta say. I'm not saying I hated it, I'm just saying that it did not help. With Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Oh, my heart. Of course, like, if I really enjoy these, they might be my favorites. Then you get to hear thoughts sooner than like in my official wrap up. And that was my 4 books for Got a Thing for Spring. Again, a Got a Thing for Spring wrap up will be officially up when spring is over. The first book I'm actually going to talk about this video is Wicked As You Wish by Rin Chupeco. This one was released on the 3rd of March and I have a full review up on my channel, so again, won't spend that long talking about this and I will of course link it down below. This one follows Tala, who is Filipino, and she and her family is protecting this prince called Alex because the Snow Queen froze his kingdom. He had to escape and he's like in hiding because, well, people want him, and like his kingdom Avalon had like all the magic and the rest of the world wanted the magic. And in this book they kind of have mixed in really known figures and magic from like our legends and myths in the whole world and put it into our world, so it's all like mixed up together and it was very nice. I love the characters in this. I thought it was a lot of fun and just a generally nice read going on this quest to get Alex back his kingdom. The diversity was so good. Yeah, it was a really good book. I really liked it. My only main problem with it was the writing and generally that it was a very info dumpy and I just don't like that much. I have more thoughts in my official review, so I gave this 4 out of 5 stars if I remember correctly. I then read Frida in America, The Creative Awakening of a Great Artist by Celia Starr. This one was an arc that I got from Nat Gelly, so a full review of that is also up on my channel, but this is basically a non-fiction following Frida when she lived in America and how that affected her as an artist and her paintings/drawings, and we just follow her time there and what happened. It's a non-fiction book, so it is very like directly with a lot of facts, and I did enjoy it and I love to learn more about Frida. She was amazing, cool, diverse woman, and I just learned a lot about her that I didn't already know, and I really love that. However, it was a bit dry since it was non-fiction, and this definitely magnified my reading slump. I was like, I'm gonna finish this today. 3 days later I still hadn't finished it, so it's not a bad book, but like it was a bit dry for me, at least that is not used to reading that much non-fiction. I would recommend it still if you're interested in it, and I learned a lot from it, so I don't regret reading it. But at a point it was like 2 stars and another point it was like 4 stars, so I ended up giving it like a 3 to like go in the middle. So it was very good sometimes, but also sometimes just not that great because it was kind of boring and there was a lot of like details and people, and I was like, meh. That's my overall thoughts for that one. Again, I have a full review up, so check it out if you're interested. After a billion years, I finally got to read some manga again, so I read Noragami Volume 20 by Adachi Toka. This one I picked up on one of the first days when I came back from Japan, and I just missed reading manga so much while being away, so I'm just so happy. I obviously picked up Noragami, which is one of my favorite manga series. It's only been like one volume out since I've been gone, so like it was easy to catch up. It basically follows Hiyori, who one day gets in an accident and then her soul jumps out of her body, and then she gets connected with the spiritual / god world, where she meets this god named Yato, who is like a disgraced god, but not really, but he's a very small god, and there are these big ones, but he's one of the small ones, so people don't kind of like him and stuff. The gods have these shinkis, which are like people they give names, and they can turn into weapons, but not necessarily. And then he finds Yukina. The three of them become this trio that is perfect. The story has evolved from that so much, and I started this series like many years ago, so like I've been here for a long while in this world, and just seeing how the story is now, it keeps just surprising me and just taking my expectations and then just throwing them out of the window. Things still is happening that I don't expect at all. Like I went into this and I was just like, oh yeah, like I kind of remember what happened in the last one, and like it reminded me of once, like all the memories came back to me when I started, but things happened in this that I literally screamed. I was like, you can't do this, and they did. And I just love this series so much. I don't have words for this one. It was so good. I don't generally like rate mangas the same way I rate books, so I generally just give them like 4 stars if I enjoy them. It's kind of hard, and I rarely give 5 stars unless they really blow my mind. It has happened. I then read Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. This one I actually had on my Blackathon TBR, but I didn't manage to finish my audiobook, so I finished it now in March. I literally do not know what to say about this book because it was so weird. It basically follows this dude who they call Tracker, and he has this really well smelling in his nose, and he kinda helps finding this missing kid, and then years later they go out to search for the same kid, if I remember correctly. This journey to like so much crazy shit, and I don't even know what happened. I literally do not know what happened. I was listening to the audiobook and I was just like, my brain kept like zoning out, but not really. It sounded like I didn't keep up. I listen to audiobook a lot, so it's not like I suddenly don't keep up in my audiobooks. Like I'm used to the experience, but I just can't explain it. It was hard to follow, okay? I'm not saying the book is bad. It was a book that was all over the place constantly. We have all like these dreamscapes and explanations and like people telling stories about them that didn't happen with them, and we keep going back and forth in time, and sometimes I'm like, I don't even know who you are. I feel like I would want to reread this physically to like see the names and places with my eyes, because when they were talking I was just like, what? I got what was happening, but I didn't get what was happening. And parts I was just so engaged, and like the world and the characters and how it's written is so original. I never read anything like it, and I really enjoyed it. Like I liked it. It's very brutal though. Like there's a lot of violence and rape and grotesque things happening. At the point someone sucks out a character's eye, and I was like, whoa, this was intense. And I was told in a random flashback, and I was like, why is this flashback here? I'm so confused. It's written very confusing. The writing style takes a lot to get into, but I liked it. And like all the violence and stuff was horrible, but I liked it. I don't like violence. I don't want violence to happen to people, but I liked the book. Okay, I ended up giving it like 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, but I'm so confused. That is like my general experience. I then read Electric Air by Victoria Lee. This one was also an arc that I got from NetGalley, and it was released on the 3rd of March as well. I have a full review up of this on my channel, so again, won't spend that long talking about it, but it is the sequel to The Fever King. The Fever King, it's in the future, it's a YA dystopia, and we follow Carolina, which I can't pronounce, but it's one of the states, and it's its own kingdom. And like generally, I think the different states are its own kingdoms, and our main character gets like this magical fever, which everyone gets, and if you survive it, you have magical powers. He gets magical powers, and he starts this elite school for the people with magic, and there he meets Dara, who they might or might not get a thing with, and it's very diverse and nice and has a lot of dark themes in it. Child abuse, domestic relationships, substance abuse. There's a lot of it, okay? So it's a very heavy, dark series. The second book was much more darker than the first one, but I still liked it. I didn't like the conclusion of the second book just because it was too easy for me, because it spent such a long time talking about how hard it was, and I just did it super easily. So I didn't like that. Other than that, it's a fine series with great characters, and I really like the magic and stuff. Generally, it's fine. I would recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. I felt like I gave a really bad synopsis right now. It's been a while since I read the first book. Okay. Generally, I think I gave this one like 3.5 out of 5 stars. More thoughts in my review where I talk maybe not so poop. I then listened to another audiobook, which was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This was a reread, and I want to reread the whole series before the Shadow and Bone Netflix series comes out. It's been a while since I read this series. I think I read the first book in like 2016, possibly 17, I don't even remember. So it was weird going into it again, especially now that I have read like Six of Crows and King of Scars and everything. It is set in this world where there are different people called these Grishas that have magic. They are living in this country called Ravka, and Ravka is split of this shadowfold thing that was created some centuries ago. Then the main character, Alina, finds out that she's a sun summoner, so she can summon light, and thereby she is invaluable because then she can go into the shadowfold and like keep the monsters that are there away. And then she goes like to the little palace and is trained up to be a Grisha. Basically, I guess. I don't even know. I love these books, even though like, yes, it's not as complex and diverse as the later books of Leigh Bardugo's, but I still just enjoy this series. It's just good, fun writing that just like keeps you engaged, and I really like the world and the world building, and like even though the characters are a bit like dull, the Darklings voice for the audiobook narrator was just so hot. What I just don't like is the plot is so simple. The typical is fine because I'm used to a lot of typical YA, but like this one character coming to Alina and is like blah blah blah, and she just believes her, and that is how like things escalate from there. It's so weird. It's so random, okay? Such a weird way to do that. I still enjoy it a lot, okay? I gave it 4 out of 5 stars the first time I read it, and I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars now, so I haven't changed at all. It was a nice audiobook, and hopefully I will get to the rest soon. Yay! I then read My Hero Academia by Kohei Horikoshi. This one is volume 18. Yes, I've been away, so I need to catch up. I was like caught up, but now I'm not anymore, so I'm trying to. My Hero Academia is set in this world where 80% of the population has quirks, which is basically like an ability, not necessarily an ability that makes you a superhero, but there are a lot of superheroes and villains in the society that has grown out of this power ability society. And our main character, Midoriya, wants to be a hero, but he is quirkless, and then he comes upon maybe a quirk, blah blah. Is that a spoiler? Not really. And he starts the hero school, and it just follows them going to a hero school and just them growing as people. By them I mean like all his classmates are present, even though some more than others, and there's like a bunch of characters basically follow Midoriya, and there's like a villains and blah 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 blah. This one just started like in the middle of a battle, and I was just like, whoa, okay, this was what happened, because it's been like over a year since I read the last one, so I was just like a bit put off, but then I remember everything that happened. And in this one, this is not a spoiler because I won't tell you who. Someone died, and I feel like no one dies in this series. I was very shocked, and maybe sort of course not crying at all. And I was very sad about it because I didn't expect anyone dying, because I don't think, as I said, anyone has died before. Maybe like a side character somewhere. I don't remember. I am volume 18, like the story has evolved a lot. I think like the plot is a bit slow going, but it is normal for this kind of manga, and I think it would be like a billion volumes in the end. But I am here for the ride now. Like I am volume 18. I am in and I'm not going anywhere, and I love the characters so much, and they are everything, and it's just original and fun, and I'm sure like it's one of the most popular, like maybe you heard about it, I don't even know. It's one of my faves as well, together with Noragami. Reading manga again makes me so happy, and now I really just want to buy some more manga because I need it, especially in this time. It was great. 4 out of 5 stars, even though again I don't really rate mangas in the same way as books. As full-length novels, because a manga is still a book, that's what I meant to say. The next one I read was Ghosted in LA, which is a graphic novel. This one is being released in, I think, 14th of April or 14th of May, depending if you look on Goodreads or Amazon. A full review will be up on my channel, so I will leave that link down below. So I won't spend, again, that long talking about it, but this one basically followed Daphne, who moves to LA to be with her boyfriend, but then her boyfriend dumps her, and then she moves into this house with ghosts because she doesn't want to live with her roommate. Like, that's the whole story so far. It's only volume 1, so I'm assuming it will be murderable after a while. Like, I liked it. It's a nice art and everything, and it was diverse and nice. I am intrigued by the story. I want to know more about the characters and the ghosts, etc. But they didn't really give us anything enough to go on, so like, I just feel like there's not that much to talk about yet in this. I didn't hate it or anything. I liked it. That's it, kinda. So I'm just excited to see where the story will develop, if when I ever pick up the rest, when I have money in life. I give it like 3 out of 5 stars, and again, check out my full review. Oh my god, I failed! So apparently, I just realized this right now, I had forgotten to write a book up on my list that I finished this month as well. So I didn't read 14 books, I read 15 books! Yes, I just gave myself less credit than I deserved. So the next book I then finished was Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know by Samira Ahmed. This one was also an art that I got from NetGalley, and it's being released on the 7th of April, so probably already when this one is up. A full review will be up of this as well. This one follows Kayam, who is in Paris for the summer because she is half French, American, Muslim and Indian, and she is there for the summer because she goes there every summer. And she tried to write this paper where she like claimed that this known painter gave a painting to this other known writer. She tried to win this prize, but she didn't win it, sadly, and now she's trying to still do research on it. And then she meets the descendant of that one writer, and they go together to solve this mystery, if there is actually anything out there. And it's about like women being erased from history because they find this Muslim 19th century woman that we also see a bit of the perspective of. It's very interesting, has very nice themes in it, like feminism and of course diversity, and also generally a fun mystery with a cute romance. And I really enjoyed it. I just didn't like the writing sometimes, and I felt like the mystery they do solve is kind of like, why didn't anyone solve it before? So I didn't like quite believe that they would be the only one to do it, but I still really enjoyed the book. I think I gave it like 3.5 to 75 out of 5 stars, rounded up to 4, and more thoughts, as I said. Wherever I delve deeper in my full review, I will leave a link down below. I then read Eat and Love Yourself by Sweeney Boo. This is another graphic novel art, which is being released on the 21st of March, I believe. And this one is an arc, so a full review will be up on my channel. Yay. This one follows Mindy, who has an eating disorder and has struggled a lot with her self and body image. And then one day she buys this chocolate that when she takes a bite, she's sent back in time, kind of to observe herself in the past and see where she got where she is today, see how she started her struggles with her eating disorder and self-image, and we just like see her reflect upon her life and start loving herself. I love the message of this. I loved the art. It was beautiful, and just like following her and just seeing how she sees herself, and then we see how others sees her, and just the reflections. Obviously she has an eating disorder, so content warning for that. And I just felt like the story carried a really heavy theme, but did it in a good way as I would see it. Another person who actually have an eating disorder might feel differently. I don't know. I feel like this is a nice story that can make awareness around it, and maybe other people would relate to it. Thought it was really nice, and I hope that it will be more, because in the end the threads of the story wasn't all resolved. But right now it seems that this is the only one, but I'm hoping that there will be more, so we will see. That's my thoughts on that one, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars as well. Again, more thoughts in the full review. I feel like I said that like a billion times in this video. And the last book I finished for March was The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. This one I reread on audiobook, the 10th anniversary edition, with Tatiana Maslany reading it, and it was great. This is also the first time I read this series in English. It's the 3rd time me reading this book, but I read it first in Norwegian, then I listened to the audiobook in Norwegian, and now the audiobook in English. Saying what The Hunger Games about is like why. Like, I'm pretty sure the whole world knows what the Hunger Games is. But basically, we are set in the future of America that is now called Panem. Capital controls everything, and once the district tried to riot and to punish them for the rioting, the capital arranged these Hunger Games to prove that they are powerful. And the Hunger Games is basically where one boy and one girl for each of the 12 districts go into arena and fight to the death, where one winner will stand alive in the end. It's a really weird experience to be reading this so many years later after my whole Hunger Games hype was over, because I was so fan of these books. Like, Twilight and Hunger Games for a part of my life was like everything, and just reading this so many years later and comparing it to the experience then and now was very interesting, especially since this was used to be one of my all-time favorite books ever. And it was so weird to be there so many years later and see how I would feel about the book now. And of course, like, the experience I had before and the emotions that I had of course affect the view I have now. Like, I will always be a bit biased towards it. Katniss and Peeta needs to like fake that they're in love so that the capital doesn't think that they are trying to be revolutionary or trying to like be in protest towards the capital. And like how the whole world in the books just focuses on the romance, and how the whole world in real life only focused on the romance. Even if Katniss was gonna be with Cale or Peeta, that was the only thing we cared about. You didn't just say Cale, I meant Gale. Oh my god, he has a totally different name in Norwegian. It's so weird. Anyway, how that reflected literally in the real life is so fascinating, and just how the society is. It seems so scary and distant, but it's totally something that can happen in our great horrible world. Just seeing all these maneuvers with like the politics, and just seeing Katniss knowing what she needs to do to survive. I didn't notice all these details before, and these deep thoughts about it. The whole starvation thing. I always thought that it was weird that the book wasn't called The Death Games. That is what it is called in Norwegian, directly translated. But the hunger is very, very potent in Katniss' life, so it makes sense that the title is what it is. And I just have so many other thoughts and reflections than I did when I first read it. Then I only cared about the romance as well. Like, I love Peeta Mellark with all my heart. I still do. He's so precious. I think I'm gonna cry in Catching Fire. It's horrible and gruesome, of course, but it's just written so well. I kind of had forgotten how well it was. I gave The Hunger Games 5 stars back then. I think I read it for the first time in 2010, potentially. We are in 2020, so it's like 10 years ago. What? I'm out of here. I'm old. What? I just realized this and I am shocked beyond my core. Anyway, so I gave it 5 out of 5 stars back then, and I give it 5 out of 5 stars now. I just feel like there is just nothing to compare this experience again, and just me knowing that I still love it as much, that I read it when I was 12, 13 years old, and now reading it when I'm like 22/23 very soon. It's so weird. I could see how complex the story was, even more than I thought back then. I've been spending way too much time talking about this one book. Point is, it is good, okay? It's still good as it was back then. That's my thought on The Hunger Games 10 years later. That is all for my wrap up for March. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I managed to read all the books on my TBR for next month. I put at least 20 there. We go. I hope you stay safe and that you are okay in this time that we're in. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Did I already say? I never remember. Bye!